Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We are back again, Dynast Amir Search for Uhuru. And I have the sister Oju on with us today. We're going to be discussing, can Black people build a sovereign nation here in America? I know Sister Oju is working on some programs. She has projects that we're going to be getting going into detail about. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. Sister Oju, thank you so much for joining us from Philadelphia.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Have you been to Atlanta before?
I have.
Okay. Yeah, but so you know, a lot of people say, "Hey, America's not working out for Black people. Should we build here in America, or should we go to Africa, or Belize, Central America, somewhere else?" What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that is that we can do both, and it doesn't have to be either or. Yeah, we can do both. We can build here, and we can simultaneously have a community on a continent or in South America where we travel to and build relationships with people there also. So it doesn't have to be either or. When African people were enslaved and when they would escape the slave plantations and live in their own sovereign maroon communities, they still had people on the plantation for key reasons. Okay. They could bring them seeds and things like that. So it doesn't have to be either or.
Now you keep mentioning maroon. So yes. From what I know with maroons, they're from Jamaica. Am I right? Or
there were maroon communities wherever you could find enslaved Africans in the Americas. So there were there's the most well-known probably maroon community. It was in Jamaica. But there was also Palmares in Brazil, which was a sovereign maroon community which lasted for over 100 years under the colonization of the Portuguese, the Dutch. And there were also maroon communities here in Americas. Many of the Africans who would escape here would go to the dismal swamps where white people dare not go. They would build communities there. They would also run to the mountains here as well. So wherever you found Africans enslaved, you found some Africans who escaped that and built their own communities.
Now, are some of these communities still thriving in America today? Some of these maroon communities, do you know?
Not that I know of, as far as the ones that lasted through enslavement, but there are independent communities in America now. There's Oyotunji Village, which is in Sheldon, South Carolina, I believe. They are a Yoruba-based community down there that was founded, I think, sometime in the 60s or the late 50s. And, you know, we also, there are still Africans in the islands off of Georgia. I forget their name, the Wallamala Islands and what have you, the Geechee Islands. And they were pretty much sovereign as well. So there are pockets of them, but I don't know if there's any that lasted from the time of the period of enslavement. I don't know that any maroon communities lasted through that period all over, you know, anywhere in North America or South America.
Now, there are many saying that, I mean, we have this theory. Have you seen Avengers yet? The new Avengers? Have you?
The Infinity War? Yes.
Okay, so Black people have this idea that the white man is Thanos, that no matter where we go, you know, whatever we build, he's going to destroy it. We go to the moon, he's going to follow us there. We go to Africa, he's going to follow us there. And anything we try here in America, he's going to destroy it the minute we build it, like Black Wall Street. And we'll also speak on the MOVE organization. What are your thoughts, or how would you respond to people who have this type of mentality?
That's hilarious to me to compare him to Thanos. Thanos reminded me of the character Dordo in Wild Seed and Octavia Butler's novel, sci-fi novel. But in any event, my response to that is that there are communities that have lasted for a very long time. Oyotunji Village, the one I mentioned earlier, has been around for what, like 50 years now. And they're still there, they're still thriving. I think, you know, and Black Wall Street and other communities like it where crackers burned it down. I think that we're in a different day and time, and we can't let that make us afraid to do it. You know what I'm saying? If we mind our own business, we do what we do, and we are pretty much isolated. I don't know. I'm sure there will be some white people who would want to challenge that, but I don't know the extent that they would go, because we haven't really done it. So we can't really talk about what would happen if we haven't tried it. You know what I mean? I think it's worth a try. You know what I mean? This is a different day and time now. It's a different thing. So I don't know that it would not be successful. In regards to, what was the second part of the question that you asked me in regards to?
Just them, you know, wherever we go, they'll destroy it. You know, that's the mentality. Like the
I think we gotta think beyond them. You know, and we always talk about, in my community, we talk about the historical spiral cycle and how we find ourselves on this historical spiral cycle. And it's basically looking at history as the diagram would be like a figure eight, where when we were in our heyday, you know, the period of order and ma'at will be at the top. And then we spiral our way down to isfet, or chaos, at the bottom, and which is where we are now as a people internationally, but we're on our way back up. We're not going to stay in isfet. We're not going to stay in chaos. Things are not going to be the same. They never are in life or in history, period, right? So we have to prepare ourselves for our projecting back into ma'at. We have to be ready when the order is ready to be restored. So we got to start somewhere. You know, and you know, the Europeans have only been in power for like what, not even 2,000 years, and so, you know, their time is coming to an end, and we have to prepare ourselves to take power when their time comes to an end.
Okay. Now, people are bringing up communities like the Gullah Geechee. Are you familiar with? It's unfortunate. I need to go. Like, I've been to Africa, been to like 12 countries, but I have not visited the Gullah.
Yeah, we got to go before it's gone.
Okay, and that's what somebody brought up. They're basically saying that it's being gentrified now. Do you know what's going on with the Gullah Geechee?
Yeah, I mean, what's going on with them, from what I understand, is a lot of them don't have the deeds and titles to their land. And so and then those who do have deeds and titles don't necessarily live on the land. They may live in the cities, and they are allowing gentrification to take place. They are selling the lands to the highest bidder, type of thing. So it's just another situation of Black folks not sticking together and having a plan and sticking to it, a plan for wealth and sticking to it. The people who may have inherited land there but don't live there don't value the culture like those who live there. And so when you don't have a value for your culture, you can be bought. And that's what's happening. People are going down, you know, white folks are going down there with some money and offering a lot of money, and for these, you know, prime lands, and they're giving it up. So they are being gentrified and moved out slowly but surely, unfortunately.
Now, I brought it up earlier, you know, the movement.
Yes.
Philly. Because were they doing something similar, I guess, or not? I don't want to get them confused with what you're currently doing, but
yeah, it was a little different with Move.
Okay, and then where did they mess up? You know, like
that's a thing. So with Move, they were more so they didn't necessarily have a particular cultural or spiritual component. They were more so of the attitude that we needed to get out of the system. We need to disengage from the system completely, and they attempted to do so. And when they did, Move it's like two parts of Move. There's what happened in the 70s and then what happened in the 80s. So what happened in the 70s, they were in this one particular house. And I kind of like we're in West Philly, the Powelton area. And the neighbors didn't necessarily like what they were doing. They didn't feel like they kept their property clean. I think they used to like rescue stray dogs and stuff like that. And, you know, so the yard had a smell, the dogs would keep the neighbors up at night and stuff like that. And of course, their physical look wasn't as acceptable to Black folks, you know, with the dreadlocks and stuff like that. We're talking in the 70s. So folks didn't like them. Their neighbors didn't like them. And basically, their neighbors, you know, rallied for them to move. They didn't want them in the neighborhood. And because they were so defiant towards the city government backed the neighbors who wanted them to move. And the first incident with Move in the 70s was a matter of the cops and whatnot, like just shooting up, running it down into the house. It was a big shootout. You know, a lot of folks got the Move 9 are still locked up to this day from that incident. And then they kind of regathered themselves and moved to a different location on Osage Avenue where the bombing took place. And it was kind of the same thing. They were very defiant. They spoke out against the system loudly. And when I say loudly, they would have the megaphones and they would be up on the roof and scream, you know, talking to the neighbors and, you know, cursing. And the neighbors just didn't like it. And they wanted something done about it. They weren't very friendly towards their neighbors, right? So at this time, you still have the same police commissioner and, you know, all the racist cops and whatnot, just waiting for an opportunity to run down on them again. And that's when the bombing happened. And unfortunately, a lot of those same neighbors who ratted them out, who wanted them out, lost their homes in that incident, in that bombing, which was ridiculous. What happened to them was very unfortunate. I think that where they messed up was they probably should have moved out of the city if they wanted to live the way that they were living. And I think you can go about doing what you do without making a lot of fuss about it. You know, you don't have to yell at people. You don't have to curse at people because they don't live like you do. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has a journey and a walk, and, you know, you just do what you do. And hopefully you'll attract people who are interested in what you're doing. And so that's why I believe the Move organization messed up at is they were, you know, I understand the defiance against the system and raging against the system, but you're going to attract a lot of negative attention when you do that. And I think the best way to move is to kind of just move in silence.
Now, how about the, we'll take another organization, Nuwaubians Nation. Where do you think
that was just unfortunate?
Okay, where do you think they dropped the ball at?
I don't know that they dropped the ball, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't say that they, you know, they were doing their thing. They were silently doing their thing.
Let me back up for a second. I'm gonna say we, because I have like 100 Dr. York books. So
okay.
So yeah. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, where do you think, if any mistakes were made?
I don't know. I don't know that organization well enough to know. I didn't have an inside view and what have you. What it looks like to me is they got infiltrated by some agents. You know what I'm saying? And you know, if the accusations against Dr. York are not true, then they definitely got infiltrated by some agents. And they began to turn their own people against them. Because that was really the only way to destroy what they had built. It had to be done from the inside out. Because they weren't very vocal and they weren't open to outsiders and what have you. They moved in silence. They built their land, and all of these things we have to be aware of. They are going to be agents. You have to have processes in place where they can't penetrate like that. You know, membership processes in place where they can't penetrate like that. Everybody who your skin folk and kinfolk. You know what I'm saying? So you know, and even when you do all of that, you can still get an agent. You know what I'm saying? Things can still, but you have to be so tight knit that it can't be destroyed. Now, I don't know what the ownership level of their community was, but I strongly recommend that people who move into rural areas and build communities do so in the name of a trust.
Okay. Okay. How about that?
Non-statutory trust.
Okay.
Common law trust where there is community ownership.
Okay.
You know, so I don't know what the ownership situation was and how the land was able to get taken the way it was.
Yeah, it got taken away. You know. So what are the benefits of having a community trust? I mean, people need to hear this stuff because, you know, it's just unfortunate in the Black community. We don't get a lot of, I would say, we're really not financially literate. So, I mean, you just mentioned something that I think people need to hear again. What's the advantages of having this trust, not only for, I would say, your own community, but even for you as a individual, I guess.
For your family, definitely. A trust is basically a contract. And basically, if I were to give you $100 and tell you, hold on to this $100 for me, please, until my son turns 18, and on my son's 18th birthday, give the $100 to my son on my behalf. We have entered into a trust. Okay. A trust has 4 components. There has to be an asset or assets that are being transferred to the trust. There has to be the person who transfers the asset, right? The person who owns the asset transfers it into the trust. That person is called the executor, or the creator of the trust, is settler, different words to describe that person. There has to be a trustee or a board of trustees who manage the asset in the trust, right? And there has to be beneficiaries, those who benefit from the asset in the trust. So in the example that I gave you, I would be the executor transferring the $100 into the trust. You would be the trustee who manages and holds on to the money, and my son would be the beneficiary, right? And this can be done with any asset. So in the case of a community or community ownership, a group of people can get together and combine some money and form a trust. And in this example, the money becomes the asset of the trust, right? They set up trustees that are going to meet regularly and manage this account. And they can decide to purchase some land, right, through the trust. So now the trust has now the money as an asset, but it also has the land and property as an asset. And all of the families of this organization can be the beneficiaries of this trust, allowed to live on the land, allowed to use the assets. It takes personal ownership out of it, so that if one person, goes to jail, everything doesn't fall apart. If one person passes away, everything doesn't fall apart. It just continues on, because you have these trustees in place, you have an organization, and the terms of the trust are according to the people who create the trust. It is something that doesn't have to be registered outside of the title of the deed and all of that. You don't have to go on record and say we're starting a trust. This is something that's private. You got to keep records, you got to meet, and that's it, basically. And I think that's the way that, Europeans have been protecting their assets for thousands of years. And it's something that we need to utilize as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you peace. What's up, Brian? We have everybody who's joining the chat. Make sure you hit the like button to share if you're not super chatty. But yeah, I mean, I think little things like that people just don't know about, and it's important to have information like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just a lot of people they just don't know about it.
Yeah.
Too busy watching World Star.
Yeah, and it's not something that is taught. You know what I mean? This is not information that's taught in public school. And if you don't know about it and you start a private school, if you don't know about it, you can't teach it either, because you don't know about it. So these are the secrets to maintaining wealth. Institutions like trusts allow people to have all the control but own nothing, so they don't have to pay taxes, because the trust, by the way, pays taxes like a corporation after expenses. You know what I mean? They pay taxes on whatever is left. And so, you can do this in your family. You know what I mean? You can do this with your children. That's how you want to manage wealth. You keep your property out of probate when you have a trust, because the ownership is transferred in your lifetime, not after you've died. So these are things we have to be a little more financially astute. We got to study. Getting out of this system is not easy. The people who created the system didn't make it easy.
Let me ask you, not to cut you off. When we say getting out the system, can somebody truly get out the system?
You can get out of the system if you're no longer taking benefits from the system. And the only way that you can really not have to take benefits from the system is if you have another system in place where you benefit from. So, for example, last summer, we went down to Twin Oaks, what do they call it? Intentional community, right? Twin Oaks is one of the communes that is still around from the 70s, from the hippies in the 70s. Right. And we went to see, we took a tour and we asked a lot of questions, and we wanted to know basically, how do you govern yourself? because if this is something we want to do, we want to look at other groups who have been successful at doing it. And one of their policies is that the people who come into Twin Oaks and become members and live there, any income that they receive has to go to Twin Oaks. I believe it's called a 501(d) organization. It's like a monastery, right?
Okay.
That's how it's taxed. So they basically give their members about $85 a month, and everything that they need is provided for on the land. They grow their own food. They have people who cook their food in an industrial kitchen. They come together and they have a mesh hall. They live in dormitory style buildings, and they have their own means of production. They produce tofu, and they also make hammocks as a means of income. They have very specific governatory systems. How they go out and get resources from outside of Twin Oaks is regulated. How the work load is done. Everybody has to put in at least 40 hours a week, and the jobs are rotated, and what have you. And it's very, very, very organized. We got to get to that kind of a level, you know, in doing what we do. And you have a situation like that, you can easily pull yourself out of the system because you won't be dependent on it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the organization that you're involved with, if you could, you know, give us more information, and I'll pull up the email you sent me to go over it as well. Yeah.
So my organization is called Egbe Ijoba. It's a fraternal society, and we practice the Isheshe, which is the spiritual traditions of the Yoruba people in Nigeria. We meet regularly. We have a way we educate our own children. We have a homeschool collective. As often as possible, we try to purchase things collectively as like a cooperative. We have a bookstore in Botanica that we mostly online, sell our books online and what have you, and we ship. We have a governing body that meets regularly. We have a men's society. We have a women's society. We have rites of passage and character development programs for our children, in addition to the education program that we have. And our goal is to, you know, live independently on liberated space so that we can live closer to each other and be a real physical community, you know, and depend on each other. And so that's something that we're striving for, but we have been established now for 20 years.
Okay. And
we have, you know, Orisha festivals throughout the year, and we work with each other, work together to do rituals and things like that. So it's a spiritual community, but it's a community. So it's all encompassing.
Now you have a conference coming up Saturday, June 9th in Philly.
Yes, we have the Family Development Conference coming up. And this is a conference where like-minded families come together to discuss issues that are pertinent to those who think like us and those who are moving like us. The issues that we may have with our children are very different from the issues that a secular family may have with their children, you know, because we're kind of all on the same page of not allowing our children to be absorbed into technology and into the world. And we want our children educated a certain way. We want them to have certain values. And so, you know, when we're raising them, we're raising our families in this world, there's going to be some pushback. And so we get together to exchange best practices and talk about some of the things that we can do in order to do it better. This conference, where the topics are going to be mate selection, and the courtship process, legacy, building a legacy for your family, and basically developing a family operations manual or mission statement.
Let me ask you this, and this is a little bit off topic, but
okay.
I saw Philadelphia, so just like Move,
yes,
something else triggered me. The Starbucks situation.
Oh,
okay. How do you feel about the settlement? Because they said $200,000 is going into, I don't know, some programs. what are your thoughts on the actual settlement? Like, do you think the community is going to actually benefit from it, or maybe putting that $200,000 towards programs like yours? I don't know if you know Brother Dave. Do you know Dave Anderson? Are you familiar with him? Black Boys Win?
No.
Okay, he's from Philly too. What are your thoughts on the settlement?
I'm not sure. I don't know the details of the settlement. From what I understand, I thought they settled for $1 each.
Okay, no, so they settled for $1, but then 200,000 is going into programs to help with entrepreneurship, and it was very vague, but they didn't really go into detail where the actual money was going.
Listen, I think that's great. I think that there's multiple ways to skin a cat, and I think that we have a multitude of problems in our community at large, and we don't have the resources to tackle all of the problems and issues that we have. And so, I think that programs like that are necessary. You know what I'm saying? It's may not be what we are about particularly, but I think those are very necessary in the community. So I hope that however the money is going to be spent, I hope that the brothers who were involved in this incident have a lot of input into where those monies are going to be channeled, so that whatever happens to the money is what they want to happen, and the influence that it's going to have is their influence. That's my hope for that situation. But whatever it is that they were the ones who went through it, and so I think it was a noble thing to have the money channeled into some type of community program. I think that's great. They could have took the money for themselves and did whatever they wanted to do with it. So that's awesome.
Peace. Do you have a link to your website? Or you know what, it might be on the flyer. I didn't look. You guys have
the link I sent you is a link to our website. I
got it right here. My bad. Wasn't let me go ahead and put this in the chat room.
Okay, thank you.
Let me ask you, how do you feel about people? We were talking about this yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, Black people specifically, who just feel as if Black Americans should not have a nation of their own, no matter what. Like, they have every excuse. We already brought up the white man as Thanos, but I mean, just outside of that, they have every excuse on why Black people, even bringing up having your own nation outside of, having your own functional government outside of being a Democrat or Republican.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're crazy. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
That's interesting. I don't run into people who have those kind of thoughts. So maybe I just don't.
Are you serious? You must have, your circle must be very small.
It is small and it's tight, but you know what else? I don't discuss my politics with people outside the circle, honestly, because I don't need other people's opinions. You know what I mean? My destiny is fixed, and I know what I'm here for. I know what my purpose is. I know what we're about. And that's all I'm really concerned about. And I think that people, when they think about solving Black issues, they think across the board. I think we have to get smaller. We have to start with small groups of people. I think there's nothing wrong with whatever the people who consider themselves Hebrew Israelites are building and doing in their communities. The Muslim Black communities are doing. I think we all need to be doing that in our own pockets and communities. And you got to start small, because when it's too big, it gets convoluted. Everybody wants it to go their way, so when you start small, when you have all of these small groups, all these small villages, next thing you know, you got a clan, and I think, I don't think there's one way to skin a cat. You know what I mean? I think that as far as like the national politics is concerned, right? American politics, the politics and the concerns of the Democratic and Republican parties are not going to get us free. They're not going to accomplish the things that we in my Egbe want to accomplish, right? Mm-hmm. But there may be a local politician, for example, like this DA, Larry Krasner in Philadelphia, who wants to end the bail system and wants to stop putting so many Black people behind bars for small offenses and nonviolent offenses. Right. I agree with that. You know what I mean? So I can get behind, I could vote for somebody like that. So I think you just need to, if you're going to participate in the political system, don't think that it's the end all be all. It's not. You still got to do the work, right? But if you're going to get behind somebody that's really about your principles. Don't just vote for the person who's not the worst. You know what I mean? Vote for a third party if you have to. If you want to participate in that, make it count. But also, I think it's very important to, if you're going to participate in local politics. You know, some people disagree completely with participating in politics, and I can understand that too. You know what I mean? Some people's position is that you can't be truly sovereign if you're participating in your enemy's political system, and I totally understand that position. You know, but I want for the political climate in America to be more conducive to leave us the hell alone, so that we can build our communities and we can educate our children the way we want to educate them, and we can, you know, we don't have to be, the vaccinations doesn't have to be forced upon us and things like that. We don't have to participate. We can have home births, right? We don't have to go to the hospital and fill out a birth certificate. We have our own records of birth that we keep, you know, pull out of the system. I would like a government that would support that. You know what I'm saying? Support our option to be free. But there's not too many political candidates running in that regard. So to the people who say that, you know, it's asinine to have your own nation, if that's the case for them, I'm not here to convince them otherwise. I'm just gonna do me. You know what I mean? I'm gonna do what we do, and we'll see. You know what I'm saying? If they want to participate in American system, let them do it. I have no argument against that. I honestly don't. It's not for me and mine, though. Are
you familiar with the Republic of New Africa at all?
Yes.
What's the I guess framework behind that?
The framework behind that, from what I understand, I'm not a spokesperson for the Republic of New
Africa. Give the disclaimer. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So it's they want about 5 states in the South that they want to be an African nation. Mm-hmm. You know, they want the governorship of these states to be turned over to African people. And I believe those states are South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, maybe whatever is next door to that, Alabama,
Mississippi.
Yes, I think those are the 5 states, I believe. Again, I'm all for it. If that's something that we can do, mm-hmm. that would be awesome. But I don't really see that happening.
All right. Holopism says, somebody in the chat room knows you. Ali, hold on 1 second. Ali Emmett says she knows you.
Yes, from one of the Facebook groups.
Okay, cool.
Greetings.
Holopism says, if people don't want to participate in the American system, wouldn't it make sense to get out of America?
Yes. I mean, like I said, it's more than one way to skin a cat. Both ends. Yes. Yes. I would like to have land also, you know, a community, you know, in Ghana. You know what I'm saying? But
keep going. I got another question to ask you since you brought up Ghana, but keep going. Keep going.
You know, I think that we can do both ends. I don't think it has to be either or all the time. You know what I mean? We can do both. We can have community here and there. You know what I mean? We can share resources with each other. Like the Maroons did on the plantation. So,
all right, let me pull this up real quick because it's specifically about Ghana. I just got to get the name correct.
Okay.
Are you familiar with? Come on, Dynast. Where is it at? Hold on, give me a second. I'm gonna pull it up. Hold on.
Take your time.
I think let's see here. Hold on, give me. It starts with an F. It was I think it was land promised to Black Americans in Ghana. I don't know how it worked out. Oh, Finakra.
Is that a city?
No, it's a lot of people don't know a lot about it, but it was in Ghana.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I've heard of
that. Okay.
There are a lot of opportunities in Ghana, though. Mm-hmm. A lot. You know, the Ghanaian government wants African Americans to come and contribute to the country, to make contributions. You know, we can teach English and stuff like that. There are a lot of opportunities in Ghana. There are a lot of different groups that are opening up opportunities in Ghana. Americans are getting land in Ghana left and right, and a lot of the land there is at a very good price. There's definitely an option, and it's one of the more stable countries in Africa politically, and one of the countries that would cater more to the American sensibilities. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to go without running water in Ghana.
right, somebody wants to know, what's the name of the group you spoke of? Is it a Facebook group?
Polygyny Empowerment for Black Families.
Polygyny Empowerment for Black Families. How do you feel about polygyny or polygamy? Or
I'm all for it.
All for it.
Absolutely.
Now let me ask you this: should women be more accepting of it?
I think so. I think that one of the reasons why I'm so accepting of polygamy is because I would love to have a co-wife who shares in the workload of the household. Mm-hmm. My household in particular, my goals are to feed my family natural foods made from scratch, to clean with natural homemade cleaning products. Mm-hmm. I have a cleaning product business, by the way, called Good Vibes All-Purpose Cleaning.
Go ahead and
shameless plug.
Yeah, go ahead and we'll shout that out too. With that, let's go ahead. What's on my mind? What's the link to it? Do you have a website?
It's goodvibesclean.com. I put it in the chat.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and put it in the chat. But I don't think you can. I don't think you're a.
Well, you can see it, right?
Oh, in the Hangout chat.
Yes.
Okay. My bad. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but and all of these things take time. It takes time to, cook ingredients from scratch. I would love to bake bread every morning. I don't have time for that. And so for all those reasons, I think a co-wife would be beautiful. The system of support would be beautiful to have someone who's part of your family, who mm-hmm. has the same goals and mission as you do. That would be awesome. I have no issue at all with polygyny.
Now, there's this, I'll call it dusty feminism.
That's cute.
Who would disagree with you and say that, you have a patriarchy mindset, and this is Black toxic male thinking, and
well, look into matriarchal polygamy. You know what I'm saying? Again, it's more than one way to skin a cat. You know what I'm saying? You got patriarchal polygamy, patriarchal, and family societies. I'm talking about on the continent. For the most part, you had some societies who were patrilineal, where the children belong to the husband's family. The wife marries into the husband's family and becomes absorbed by the husband's family and part of that family, a wife of that family. That's a patrilineal society. But you also have matrilineal societies where it was just the opposite. And those societies had polygyny as well. Matrilineal polygyny, where for the most part, men will come in and marry the women of the family, be part of the woman's family and what have you. So, if patriarchy doesn't suit you, then look at some of the matriarchal societies and how they were run and the balance that they found in that.
Okay.
But I think that honestly, polygyny, I don't think that feminism should have an issue with polygyny because it's pro-woman.
Okay,
I think most people look at it immediately as all the man getting all the benefits, but in essence, the women get all the benefits. But again, that's women who appreciate the role traditionally that women have. I love the role of being a nurturer and the person who cares for the household. You know what I mean? I appreciate my role. I don't want to do what men do. So maybe feminists who think that, want to do the things that men do, maybe they wouldn't find that pleasing to them. But for women who appreciate the roles that women have, I think that it's an awesome choice.
Somebody said house husbands of Wakanda.
That's funny.
So as far as polygamy, so how does it benefit the woman? If we go more into, in fact, we got to do another video on that. Benefits of polygamy for how it benefits women. We got to do another video on that. So just real quick, just the very, very short version, because we're going to get back on topic. How does it benefit the woman?
When it's done in a way that the women live in the same home together, mm-hmm. The help one gets is you couldn't imagine. From help with, for one small example, you have a baby, mm-hmm. right? Woman has a baby, and she can't necessarily, she shouldn't be up cooking and cleaning and doing laundry and carrying anything heavier than her child. She should rest for a period of at least 2 weeks, right? 2 to 6 weeks, and just be waited on. You have a co-wife, she picks up the slack. You know what I'm saying? Something like as small as that. But even outside of having a baby, you have someone to share the load with, the household load with. So that's one of the major benefits.
Okay, cool. Now, where do the organization that you're a part of, where do you see it going in the next, like what tangible can you show, or what have you guys done so far that people can actually see or touch?
That's a good question. Well, we've had quite an evolution. For the school, for example, our school is called Ijoba Shule. We started off in a brick and mortar.
Okay.
But that wasn't it's very difficult for independent African institutions to maintain and pay the bills because our enrollment numbers are pretty low, right?
You guys homeschooling now, or?
Yeah, well, now we moved to a homeschool model, homeschool cooperative model, where it's not necessarily that the children come to a building every day, but the parents homeschool their children, and we share in outside activities. So if a parent finds an activity for the 5 to 7 year olds, then the other parents be like, oh, okay, I want to assign my child. So we all meet at these different outside activities with our children throughout, the week and what have you, to add on to their education. So right now, I think the children participate in tennis, swimming, African martial arts, and like every Wednesday, they go to Bartram Gardens. They have a homeschoolers program. So they participate in these things collectively. And when you have collective participation, you can better negotiate a price for them. So, it's not something that's, we don't have a brick and mortar school building anymore. So that's not something tangible, but that is actually very much more beneficial to us than the brick and mortar school building was. We have several businesses within like the membership. We have partnerships that I'm part of a business with 5 other women called Love Thyself Way Incorporated, and we are all doulas and womb steam practitioners. We pool our resources together. We have an office. And so things like that you can, these are women that I already have developed a trust with. So, when we venture off into other business ventures, it's just mutually beneficial. And it seems like, it's without a second thought. So we have the Sankofa bookstore in Botanica. We usually take orders from that via email or online.
You have a website?
That doesn't have a website, but we have a list of books on egbe.ijoba.org.
Got it. Okay.
Recommended reading list, and we have most of the books, I believe, on that list.
Okay, let me go ahead and put that website back in the chat as well. Make sure you guys go to the website and support, please. Also, too, we know we just had another school shooting on Friday. I put the good vibes clean in the chat room.
They can go there too.
Go there too. Do you think that would encourage, especially Black people, to really consider homeschooling as a serious option?
I think that Black people need to consider homeschooling as a serious option because our children are being educated by our enemies. I don't think the school shooting has anything to do with that, honestly. I think the decision to do that should be made because our children are not being educated in a way that helps them to thrive, and grow into adulthood with some confidence in these public school systems. Public schools, for the most part in the hood, just don't have the resources anyway, even when all of the teachers and the administrators mean well and have the best of hearts and the best of intentions, they don't have the resources. And, I think for that reason alone, we just need to pull our children out of the public schools. I also think we need to stop having giving birth to our children in hospitals is extremely dangerous. But we just need to stop depending on a system like that. You know what I mean? Like we need to have the confidence in ourselves that we can do it. We can provide for every aspect of our lives. There are people now that have like the buy black for 30-day buy black or whatever, and everything that they get everything that they get is provided for by the Black community. We
Right.
have enough enterprise now where we can do that. And so, you know, like next year, my son is going to be in high school. I'm not sending him, but he's going to be enrolled in Iya Ed, AYAED.com, which is an online African-centered school for middle school and high school. And the curriculum is fantastic, you know, and, you know, you just got to kind of seek these resources out and utilize them because they're there. We have what we need.
Absolutely. But do you think the issue is Black people don't see value in what we already have?
I think that's it. I think that's exactly it. That's exactly it. That's why many of our African-centered private institutions are struggling. You know, private schools and what have you are struggling with enrollment numbers and stuff like that because Black folks don't value it like that. One of the things that we have some African-centered schools and institutions that have been around since the 70s.
Okay.
And one of the things that dealt them a really heavy blow was the charter school movement.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because people started, well, okay, I don't have to send my child to this public school. I can send them to a charter school, you get a better education, and it's still free. And it, you know, we lost enrollment numbers in the hundreds from our independent schools. Whereas prior to that, you know, we was all we got. We have to move today like we all we got. You know what I'm saying? I think people don't value they don't value it enough. It's like, for example, when I sent my children to African-centered private schools, I made the decision that I could not have a car payment because I had to pay tuition and I couldn't afford to do both. So I went without. I made that sacrifice because their education was that important to me. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are just not willing to make certain sacrifices because the education of their children, unfortunately, is not as important to them. I'm not going to have my enemies educate my children. Not today, not yesterday, not ever. You know what I mean? I'll do whatever I have to do to make sure that they're educated by people who look like me and have my values.
Now, somebody was bringing up how even the charter schools are not that good. Like, what are your thoughts on charter schools?
Well, they're not. You know, my son goes to an African-centered charter school now, and they're struggling. You know what I'm saying? They're struggling. He's in 8th grade now. He's about to graduate and go on to high school. But this year and last year in 7th grade, he lost his math teacher in the middle of the year. You know what I mean? I sent him there because I want him to be in an institution where, you know, first of all, I moved to Philly. And so there wasn't a lot of options for me. Right. And I have to work, so I can't homeschool him. But I sent him there because I want him to see images of my aunt on the wall. You know what I mean? Right. 7 principles, and I want him to walk through the halls and see red, black, and green on the walls. You know what I mean? And the founders and the principals and the teachers there share my values. They look like me. I love what he's learning, but they struggle. They struggle financially. They still struggle.
Wow. Everybody, make sure you hit the like button and make sure you guys go to the websites as well. That's in the chat room. Support Sister Oju. What we'll do, we'll go ahead and close out. Anything else in closing you want to share? And also share with everybody your contact details again as well.
Yes, absolutely. But just, you know, we're having our family development conference on June 9th. It's the day before the Odunde Festival, which is a major festival in Philadelphia. So if you come up, make a weekend of it, you know. But let me tell you something. The Family Development Conference are for like-minded families. Mm-hmm. If you're a family that's not thinking on this level, this is not for you. You know, if you're an LGBT family or support, this is not for you, and you will not be comfortable there. So for the people that think like us, who are like-minded and want to rear their families the way that we want to rear our families, this is the conference for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And once again, Sister Oju, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And you got to come back on sometime this week, and we got to speak on how polygamy can benefit women.
Anytime. Well. I love that. I don't talk about it enough.
You got to bring another sister on with you as well.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we got to set that up offline sometime this week. But everybody, once again, thank you for joining us. Make sure you go to search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Also go to Instagram.com search for Uhuru Africa Personified. Make sure you go there as well, and go to searchforuhuru.com, dynastyamir.com, amazon.com, search your name Dynast Amir. Please buy a book. Please support. Again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, peace.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Peace and love.